Welcome to WAHNcast, the official podcast of the Women's Affordable Housing Network. This is our space to connect, get real, and talk about what's really happening in housing, from bold leadership to resident stories that ground us in purpose. We're here to amplify voices, strengthen each other, and share the kind of conversations you'd have with a friend who gets it. Because when our voices are amplified, our communities grow stronger, and so do we.
Emma Schumaker serves as Senior Associate at Lincoln Avenue Communities and Fairview Housing Partners in Los Angeles, where she brings nearly 6 years of hands-on experience in affordable housing and resident services. Throughout her career, Emma has been known for leading with heart, working directly with residents to ensure they not only have a safe and stable place to live, but also the resources, opportunities, and sense of belonging that make housing truly meaningful. Her work bridges the practical and the personal, connecting the dots between property operations, resident well-being, and long-term community success. In both roles, which share the same mission to strengthen affordable housing and uplift lives through compassionate, resident-focused support. Today, we'll hear about Emma's journey in the affordable housing industry, what drives her dedication to service, her work with Fairview Housing Partners, and the impactful initiative of scholarships for neighbors living in affordable housing communities, a process Emma has overseen over the last year. Welcome, Emma.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
We're very excited to have you, and I'm going to do a little shout out. I know we reached out to Fairview Housing Partners when Justin Wilson pointed out the scholarships that you all were giving out. And immediately he was like, I need to introduce you to Emma, who oversaw this whole process and made it a success. So shout out for that allyship.
Yeah, Justin's my biggest cheerleader.
Amazing. Sure. We all need him, right? So how do you describe Fairview Housing Partners' mission and the unique way in which you approach affordable housing and community engagement?
I work most closely, obviously, on the resident services front. And our mission ultimately is to strengthen communities and individuals living in low-income housing. And that's usually through partnering with developers and providing programming to residents through direct services. And then sometimes partners with like-minded organizations and then local and national nonprofits in the regions that we serve. And ultimately, it all got started with Family Resource Days, which I'll talk about a little bit more. But Family Resource Days are an initiative that we've been doing for quite a while now. We posted, I want to say I'd need to look back at my notes, but I think over 40 resource days at this point. And we basically at affordable housing communities will host resource days, and we invite out different local nonprofits and organizations, whether it be like food banks or health-related organizations, and just bring resources directly to the communities that we serve. And we found that model has really inspired us to work closely with the residents and bring those resources like right to their, quite literally to their doorstep. So yeah, that was the inspiration for a lot of our resident impact work, and we still do resource days today. And then on the other side of the mission statement, we're also a subordinate debt lender in this space, and we're finding creative ways to work with partners and helping facilitate funds to create more affordable housing.
Amazing. I have to ask you about the Resident Services Day. What did you call it? Resident Support Day?
Family Resource Days.
Family Resource Day.
Depending on the community, sometimes it's Resident Resource Day.
Do the families normally come out, and is that a day where you have like snacks and drinks and stuff too? The support, I'm just trying to envision this. It's really neat. Yeah. And I love that you bring all of the people together to the resident community so it's easy for everyone to see in one place.
Yeah. I attend a lot of them. Like I'll fly out to the communities, and it's usually a lot of fun. We connect with the property management group as well, and we'll rent out a food truck and provide residents with a free meal. And there's bouncy house for kids, and we'll have snacks and sometimes ice cream, that sort of thing. And then so it's almost like a resource fair, like a festival of sorts.
Yeah.
And so it's supposed to be fun and just also a laid back situation where we can interact with residents, hear more about their needs, also meet directly with those local nonprofits that are in the communities that we serve, because they usually have the best insight on what the community has been requesting. So those have been very powerful, not only from the standpoint of getting advice from or input from the residents, but also from the local nonprofits in the area, and then just building that trust.
Yeah, what a
across the
valuable
community.
day. Like, I just
Yeah.
can already just envision this. I'm like, do you guys have take a friend to work day? I want to come to work. That sounds like such a great experience.
You honestly should. And
That's great.
yeah, it is some of the communities will do multiple events, like yearly events, but the intention is also not for it just to be like a one-time event, creating those relationships with the nonprofits so that we can do more frequent programming. Like, for example, there's a United Way that we've worked with closely, United Way Suncoast, and we're working with them to do more like financial advising programming where they can come out to the property more frequently. Yeah, we usually try to create it to be more of a touch point, and then we can create more opportunities throughout the year.
That's great. Like boots on the ground. And you spoke to it a little bit, but your role gives you a front row seat to both resident experience and partner collaborations. What does a typical day, other than these festival days, look like for you? And what have you learned about building effective partnerships across so many of these organizations that you all are working with?
Yeah, I don't really have a typical day. It varies, and it depends on the programming that we're focusing on that week or an event that we have coming up. But if it's helpful, I could go through some of the core programming that we work on and what takes up a lot of my time. But as I mentioned, the resource days, we're on goal to host 15 this year.
Oh, wow.
And so the year is almost over. We'll have about 15 under our belt this year. And then we also have been doing a after school program for over 3 years now, where we worked with the Baseball Hall of Fame, and they provide curriculum. And then with the generous support of Morgan Stanley, we were able to roll out this after school program at several communities. And basically kids learn about different educational topics, but through the lens of baseball. And so right now, yeah, it's very fun. I've gotten to go to a few of the play ball park events and the all-star games. It's very fun. And we've worked closely with some of the local nonprofits too in implementing that program. And we hope to continue that in the coming years. So that's ongoing. It's an 8-week-long program, but there's seasons to it.
Okay.
That's ongoing. And then we also are working with an organization called Family Scholar House. And basically, they are a very hands-on resident services provider, and they are offering a resident services program at 4 of our properties right now. And essentially, they do a benefits assessment for everyone. And it's almost like a call center. So if there's anything that residents have questions about or want to ask about, like currently right now, the SNAP government shutdown, they can call and get resources in the area. That's been a really fun partnership, and also just learning from them. They're based out of Kentucky. And then we also, as we'll talk about a little bit later, the scholarship program has been really fun this year to work on and very impactful. And so that's a little bit of everything. But yeah, I would say I think that LAC is obviously a very important partner of Fairview's and allows us to do a lot of the mission work that we do. And then as I spoke about when talking about the family resource days, when working with local organizations that live in the communities that we serve, I really just try to listen to what they think our residents need, and obviously listen to the residents, because ultimately it's all about gaining their trust and the residents' trust and getting their feedback. So overall, it's a lot of communication, a lot of outreach, a lot of partnerships, but it's really impactful, inspiring work.
Like you love going to work every day, but it sounds like you're never bored either.
Yeah, no. I don't think so.
You're staying very busy. And I think too, it's really neat. I don't know how long you guys have been doing the work with the baseball collaboration, but what an exciting year with that World Series being such an exciting series this year. It had to be even more fun. Did you guys have any programming during the World Series or with the baseball team?
They did, but what's funny is none of the communities that have the program are in LA. So I don't think they had as much excitement as folks in LA.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's funnier.
My nephew's mom's family is from Canada. So he was going for the Blue Jays, but he flipped back and forth because he's 6. So he likes to go for the team he thinks he's going to win. So that's the only reason I was keeping up. But the games were exciting. Like, what a fun. So I'm sure the programming's just as exciting.
Yeah. And I think what we've learned over time is that the kids like to be outside and run around too. So we've implemented some changes based off of that as well.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very nice. So you mentioned the scholarships, and I'm a huge fan of this. We do scholarships at WAHN for college students, but we've always explored for long-term resident scholarship. When I saw this post, we were so excited to talk about it and can't wait to hear more. So you all recently launched the Scholarship and Grants Initiative that's already making a big impact. And you guys have a video out there of the residents that won. What inspired this program and what outcomes are you starting to see for the residents and communities?
Yeah. The scholarship program seemed like a no-brainer because the tangible impact is pretty clear. Like you're helping residents achieve higher education, which opens the door for several opportunities down the line. And it wasn't just restricted. The application wasn't just restricted to university. It was also trade school opportunities or community college as well. But honestly, we were inspired by a lot of other either developers or organizations in the space that were doing the same. So we actually worked with Today's Resident Services on the program, and I have to give them a shout out because they really, through their coaching, we were able to do the scholarship program this year, and they have done a lot of the scholarship work for TAPS scholarship. So they were very helpful. And yeah, the outcomes that we're starting to see, I know everyone's experience is different and college isn't necessarily for everyone, but I know I personally wouldn't be in this field and learn about my passion if it weren't for my college experience. So I think it can be very valuable and inspiring. And I think you said you had watched the video. And if anybody hasn't watched the video, you should go to Fairview Housing Partners website because it's a tearjerker. But yeah, we awarded 11 applicants and we're funding a total of $50,000 to residents living in affordable housing. And I got the opportunity to interact closely with a lot of the awardees and read their applications and got to hear their stories, and then seeing it all every step of the way and how it all turned out. It was very impactful. And yeah, it's just really inspiring to see those stories. There's a specific resident that speaks in the video and talks about how she had talked about her experience like growing up and wanting to go into law to try and break down the barriers that she faced a lot of her life. And yeah, I don't want to tear up just talking about it, but yeah, it's something that I feel the most passionately about and that I just was so excited that we did that program this year. And I'm really excited to hopefully we'll get to expand it next year as well and offer it to even more residents living at affordable housing communities.
Yeah. It's just that video, I'm going to second what you say and go watch the video, and just knowing that money can be a barrier to some people's dreams and that you're alleviating that so they can move forward it's just awesome work. And like you said, you guys were inspired by a lot of people that are doing this, and the more people that do this and give back to the residents living in their communities, just that many more dreams come true for these people that have the brains, they have the talent, they have everything. We just have to help them get.
Yeah, and college is so expensive. It's not uncommon for people to need that additional funding.
Yeah. And there's new stats out too on just the number of homeless college students now, because we talk about affordable housing, and that translates a lot to how do you afford tuition and food and housing as a college student without assistance? So, Emma, there's a theme in what you continue to say over and over, which we love here at WAHN, that resident voices are central to your approach. We believe that's the best way to be informed on how to both build and then maintain supportive housing for the neighbors living in these communities. What are some of the common goals or needs you hear from residents that these scholarship or support programs aim to address?
Yeah, I would say ultimately our goal, like we were speaking about before, is to break down some of those barriers to entry that the system has created for a lot of folks and bringing the opportunities directly to residents so they don't have to go searching for them. We're all busy. We have
Yeah.
our jobs to deal with. Many people have kids. And so I think something that we have tried to do and that we've heard is that just making it less difficult to get help,
Yeah.
I think, is the biggest goal, because there are a lot of barriers to entry and just, finding ways to make life a little bit easier, honestly, because it's hard enough.
That's consistent too with your family resource days. You guys are basically just bringing opportunity to people and making it more convenient to access those opportunities. It's just great
Yeah,
work. Great
that's
work
the
by
goal.
Fairview. So you work alongside leaders that are deeply committed to affordable housing and equity. What have you learned from those collaborations, and how do you share values across partner influence that help the work you do at Fairview?
Yeah, I would say we're lucky to be in this kind of niche space where we have partners across the spectrums. There's developers like LAC that we work with closely. And then from the finance side, like we've gotten a lot of support from organizations like Morgan Stanley or NEF that help us to we all have the common goal of enhancing residents' lives, and we wouldn't be able to do a lot of this mission work without them. And then also the service organizations like Baseball Hall of Fame, Family Scholar House that I discussed before, today's resident services, and then the local organizations in the areas that we serve too. Like I know, like I had said with the government shutdown, it was really, although it's terrifying and scary for a lot of people who are on SNAP right now, it was really helpful that we have this list of partners that we've worked with and met through our resource days in local areas that we can reach out to and see if they have any ideas and just work and brainstorm back and forth on ways to alleviate any issues that residents are running into. I feel like it is inspiring because there is this common goal, although there's a lot of different pockets of organizations that we work with. Ultimately, there's this common goal to have a resident forward approach and enhance residents' lives. And sometimes it's more direct enhancement than others, but ultimately it all weaves together to create this resident-centered approach.
Yeah, and you all are the ones lucky enough to get all these big brains into one room. How
Yeah.
great is that? Like, you're facilitating, like, let me grab these brains over here and we'll figure this out together. So that's amazing. It's really amazing how dynamic Fairview Housing Partners is and all the different things you all are doing. And I know recently you guys applied to become a certified CDFI. So congratulations. We're
Thank
happy to
you.
have the application part done. For those who may not know what that means, can you explain how CDFI certification could expand Fairview's ability to finance and support affordable housing and why that designation matters?
Yeah, as I spoke about before, a lot is up in the air right now, but we've applied to become a CDFI, which stands for Community Development Financial Institution. And basically, the intention is just to make sure capital gets to the communities that need it, despite the cloud of uncertainty right now. But we think that eventually there'll be some iteration of the current CDFI fund once the dust settles, and hopefully that'll help us to expand lending to support the creation of more affordable housing and opens up additional partnerships for us too.
Yeah. Again, congrats. I know you're waiting on that. And like you said, the best way when the dust all settles, we'll see. And so good luck with all of that.
Thank you.
Affordable housing partnerships are complex. At this point, and trying to bring all these big brains together, like we talked about. What challenges have you faced in implementing programs like these, and how has Fairfield worked creatively to overcome them?
Yeah, so I would say, as we discussed before, consistency and trust is very important to residents, and a good way to tap into that is connecting with the local organizations that have insight. But I would say definitely one of our friction points is that pockets of the industry or just housing in general, there's typically a lot of turnover and change, but basically just finding consistency within that change. Like I said, some of the local organizations that have very deep roots in the community are always really helpful to me and great to fall back on. So just, yeah, finding those, even though a lot of the industry has a lot of change constantly, just finding those pockets of consistency has been helpful for me and for our organization.
Yeah, that's a really great point. It's like the backbone's there, and then trying to like massage through the challenges of different changes while having the deep rooted organizations that can still help and advise. So, a question coming from the WAHN perspective. How are you seeing women, whether it's residents, staff, or community leaders, engage with these opportunities and lead the charge within their communities?
Yeah, so I would say, like we've talked about, I have two very inspiring bosses that are men in this space, but although they're so helpful and inspiring, it's been really helpful to also see women in this space as well. And I recently went to an event for the local WAHN chapter in LA, and hearing the speakers there, and we talked about this on our last call too when we met. It is just different when you're in a room of women and you get to, there's this excitement surrounding it and everyone kind of feeds off of each other's energy. I will also say that working with Melinda Fraser and Tiana Rogers at today's resident services, like I said, we hadn't done the scholarship program before. There was a lot of questions, and just seeing them really navigate any issues or changes seamlessly was very inspiring and kept my mind at ease throughout the process. And then also, I've seen a lot of property managers in the affordable housing space that are women and just care really
Yeah.
deeply about the residents that we serve. And then I think the big one that I want to bring up that is also I spoke about before is some of the residents, especially those that applied for the scholarship, and seeing how hard they've worked. And the one of the applicants that I was speaking about that wants to be part of a legal system because that support that she wants to provide the support that she was lacking growing up. And if you ever need something to inspire you, you just go back to those stories where people have seemed to defy all odds. I also want to give a shout out to my first boss when I started at LAC. I started as an intern actually at a college, and I was interested in homelessness and housing. And she really just was so supportive. Her name's Victoria Whitaker. She's not in this space anymore, the affordable housing space, but I think having that first boss to really show me the way, and she led with so much compassion, and just being able to model that has been really special. And then obviously Tom and Justin have been great support system as well.
You just touched on so much. I always say this on these calls, if people could just see our smiles, like when you're saying some of these people's names. And Tom and Justin are both very solid allies to Women's Affordable Housing Network. Tom's been an advisor since day one, and he's on the Ally Pledge. Justin came to Summit last year, and he was on a panel and again signed the Ally Pledge. Like, we were talking about this before the call, but you're definitely surrounded by some of the best. So I feel like the work you do is so meaningful. You have great people. Like, what a great opportunity. You mentioned being in the Women's Affordable Housing event, and actually one of your coworkers, Cricket Cleary, who leads the LA chapter, and she one time said about Summit, she said, what's different is I go to all these conferences And when it's an industry conference in general, I feel like I'm outside the circle. Oh, I got to meet that person. Let me stand here. And she said the biggest difference, and I still love this definition at all women's event or majority women's event, is when you walk up to a circle, they open and, oh, come in. Do you know this person? And I think the link there is, there's a big link here to what you said about the scholarship applicants and women's events, is when you've walked a certain path that you've felt the difference. Like when you go to a conference and you're not really feeling like part of the conference because you're in the minority as a woman or whatever it may be. Same with someone who has had all these like obstacles set up for them to walk that walk. They have the knowledge of how they can change it to make it better. I just love everything you just touched on. And with that, the person in the video that applied for the scholarship knows what challenges she faced. So when she is in that legal system and able to explain, this is why this is not working, let's change it this way. Just very inspiring. And your scholarship program is allowing this to happen quicker than it might otherwise happen, because I fully believe that she would have made it into accomplish all of her goals. When you think about measuring success of these programs and the scholarship, what indications or early signs tell you these programs are truly making a difference?
Yeah, I think that the quantitative numbers are obviously great, like the number of folks that have enrolled in Family Scholar Houses services or properties, or any of those numbers, number of kids in our after school program.
Yeah.
There is obviously a lot of good data that we can pull from those, measuring those services and those numbers. But I am a huge fan of qualitative data, and I find that the personal stories from residents are the most impactful to me. And although both are important, I think that even with our programming, like knowing one really inspiring personal story pushes me forward to continue the work that we do. And yeah, like stories from Family Scholar House, they've given us some personal stories where folks are able to spend more time with their kids because of any assistance that they've received from SNAP or whatever it might be. And then also just the scholarship program, that was such a great way to see the stories firsthand. And it really told the story of what we're doing. And I read a lot of the applications, and I still was like so surprised to hear some of the things that were in the video, and see the faces that went along with these stories. So I think I really see the difference in those sorts of stories. But obviously, both measuring success, there's a lot of different ways to do it, and the numbers are important, but I find the personal stories very powerful.
I agree. Like, I get it from a CPA side. I get the number side, but I think the stories, and when you see the change in someone's life, that's so much more exciting and it keeps you going. I can't wait to hear the stories in a couple years of how these people that got the scholarships and how their whole life changed from it and all the accomplishments they make. So looking ahead, what's your dream for how these initiatives evolve in the next few years? And how can networks like WAHN support that vision and amplify the impact you're already seeing?
I meant to say this when I was answering your last question, but
Awesome.
for the scholarship program, our intention is to continue to keep in touch with the residents that received scholarships so that we can check on their progress. And hopefully, if they're interested, they can get the opportunity to apply again next year if we do expand the program.
Awesome.
And so that would be amazing if there's someone that's getting a 4-year degree, and each year we get to check in. And they could reapply and they get that opportunity to apply again. And then, just seeing where they go from there. There's so many career paths, a lot of them detailed, that are so exciting and impactful. And it is interesting that you notice that a lot of them want to go into a service forward career as well. So I'm really excited to see how that initiative grows. And then just the opportunity to work with more developers in their expansion of services. I definitely hope that we can expand our reach there. And then also financially support the creation of more affordable housing. But I think having these conversations like the one that we're having right now, especially amongst women, are important because I have found that hearing stories of women's success in a male-dominated industry has ignited this passion in me to find ways to support each other and work together toward our shared goal of supporting affordable housing and enhancing the lives of residents. And yeah, like I said, even this conversation, it ignites like a spark in you where you want to keep on having them and see how you can work together to create more powerful initiatives. So I'm very excited to continue that work, and anyone and everyone is always welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn or email me. I think I'm fairly approachable. So,
You're very approachable. I'm like sitting here. This is the best person to be in resident services too, because
oh,
you're very approachable and very brilliant. And we will share your information when we share this story too. And I
yeah,
can't
that's
thank you
amazing.
enough. I really do feel like we meet the best people in affordable housing, and like having the opportunity to work in this industry, you just get to collect all the best people that really care
Mhm.
about the population. Very glad that we got to host you today and learn more about your
Yeah.
story, and can't wait to follow your success as well.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it. If it
Of
weren't for women like you creating this podcast and doing this sort of thing, then yeah, I wouldn't be as inspired to do the same. So I appreciate it.
That's awesome. I know we got to collect this all together, right?
Yeah.
Emma, thank you so much for your time. I know you're busy doing all this great work, and we're really thankful that you were able to spend time and share this story with us.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so
Of
much.
course.
Thanks for having me. I
Of
appreciate it.
course.
And shout out to Justin again for recommending
Yes, Justin.
me.
And Emma, we'll stay in touch. So thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thanks for being here with us on WAHNcast, the official podcast of the Women's Affordable Housing Network. Every guest, every story, every listen helps us keep this space real, rooted, and resonant, and we're so glad you're a part of it. Big thanks to our guests for sharing their time and knowledge with us, to our sponsors for making this platform possible, and to you for tuning in, sharing, and helping us keep this conversation going. Be sure to follow, rate, and share WAHNcast wherever you listen, and bring a friend next time we save them a seat.